What a turn of events. And look, cliches are overused expressions, right? And we're taught when you start in this business, don't be cliche. Don't say something that's been used 1,000, 1,000,000 times. But whether it's a cliche or it's just a great quote that's been re-quoted, retweeted 1,000,000 times, Rudy T did say it back in the day.
Those non-believers, don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
That's the great Rudy Tomjanovich. He was talking about his team, the Houston Rockets, who won back-to-back NBA titles. Right? Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion. And I think that's what everybody did. But also don't underestimate the intelligence of a coaching staff. I mean, it's crazy. It's weird. We see this in games 1 to 2. I mean, Dallas and Oklahoma City, right? Game 1, you're like, man, how is Dallas ever going to... Luka's not healthy. Kyrie's going one-on-one. Dallas doesn't have Maxi Kleber. They're just not that good. Oklahoma City's too athletic, too many weapons, can't guard Shea, yada, yada, yada. The bench, Aaron Wiggins, hitting threes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Jason Kidd, who people have told me he's not a good coach, and then I watch the adjustments that they make, and P.J. Washington suddenly, they light a fire under him, and he carries them for 2 games. The games get really way more physical, and Luka finds a way. So we see that from game 1 to game 2 in that series. We've seen it in other. For whatever reason, we have this remarkable overestimation of home court advantage. And it's a real thing in Denver. You play a mile high. If you're not used to playing in that lack of oxygen, especially this that game's supposed to be more difficult. But the Wolves are deeper. They are younger. And all of that energy and athleticism in games 1 or 2 undressed Jamal Murray, bothered Nikola Jokic, and seemed to have them completely lost as to where they were supposed to go offensively. And then defensively, they struggled as well. They go back to, well, it's actually in Minneapolis. Let's just be honest. Target Center is in Minneapolis. So sorry, St. Paul, you don't get any ownership over this one. They go back to the big twin in the Twin Cities and a complete reversal of fortunes. Some of it is adjustments. Some of it is don't underestimate the heart of a champion. And some of it is, hey, Minnesota might not have been ready for the counterpunch. Might not have been ready.
I think when we were leaving Denver, a lot of people, I don't think in Denver, but a lot of people were, understandably so, saying the series is over. And, to come up here and even it up on the road, we played good basketball. Rudy T is right, man. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. Yeah, I mean, they were quick to write us off, but these guys, we won a championship a year ago. You know what I mean? We went into Miami, won 2 games in a row. Like, this team has been tested time and time again, and we found a way to solve whatever's been thrown at us.
Here's Anthony Edwards, the star for the Wolves, having a back and forth with the reporter.
Anthony, did you have any words with Jamal or any of the Nuggets at the end of the game there? Looked like you might have been saying
I just told his ass, that's what we love that. Keep talking that. That's what we like. Well, I love it, so. He didn't say nothing back, but I'm pretty sure he heard me. They heard me. Yeah, we live for that.
Anthony Edwards said this about the series being tied.
This is series. I mean, we won 2 games, but we didn't think it was going to be easy. I mean, this is, like I always say, these are the defenders. I said it after game 2. They're not going to lay down. They're going to punch, and we're going to punch back. And they beat us up tonight. The last 2 nights, they beat us up in the fight. And that's okay. We'll be all right. We'll bounce back, figure it out next game, and we'll be ready again. I don't think they got any momentum. I mean, we won 2 games. They won 2 games. At this point, it's just whoever wins 2 games. So I don't know how people look at it, but I look at it like I'm happy. I'm ready. We're competing at the highest level, and I'm smiling about it because I'm happy. I'm ready to go play. If we play tomorrow, I'll be ready. So it's going to be fun.
Well, the problem wasn't Anthony Edwards. The problem when he's off the court, right? They just don't have anybody else who can seemingly go get him a bucket. By the way, here's Anthony Edwards on the 3 days off in between games.
I think the 3 days hurt us, actually. After those 2 wins, they gave us like 3 days off or 3 days before we play again, and I don't really like that at all. But I think that's why we came out sluggish game 3.
Reasonable. You know, I can tell you from personal experience. See if this makes a correlation, guys. When you have time to think about it, when you have time to sit with it, it gets a lot different. Right? You win 2 games and there's a day off in between games and you get rolling. And now all of a sudden, you know, Denver, older team with their stars, they get a chance to catch their breath, figure some things out, rest a little bit. And meanwhile, in many ways, the Wolves, they got to sit and think about it as well. And when you sit with it and think about it, man, that can be really, really challenging. And I'll never forget when I was in the summer league team for the LA Lakers. And the Lakers practice facility, which they have a new one now, but you'd walk in and there was a receptionist, and behind the receptionist, there's a picture of Magic, there's a picture of Kobe, there's a picture of Shaq. And at the time, Kobe and Shaq were on the Lakers. And then, you know, if you have a key card or the code, you open up the door and you walk down the hallway to the locker room, and there's a picture of Jerry West and Elgin Baylor and Shaquille O'Neal and Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, and I think even Anthony Peeler got a picture. And after about a week, when the first week you're like, I'm not making this team. It's the Lakers. I got no shot. But the more you're around something, you start convincing yourself, I can do this. I can do this. I don't think Minnesota, especially the Rudy Goberts, who hasn't had great success in the playoffs, I don't think they thought they could do it, but when they got a 2-0 lead, they start to convince themselves, oh, we could do this. But the longer you're there, the more reality sets in. The more it becomes, these guys are really good, and they can make an adjustment, and they can play physically. And they understand to not freak out. So much of it is about your emotions. So I never thought the series was over after 2 games. I didn't think it looked good, but if you roll back the tape to Friday, I said the Nuggets are going to win this game. I didn't know they'd win 2 in a row. I didn't know they'd do it in the fashion that they did. But I had a lot of confidence that they weren't dead. And this series is feeling a little bit like a series we talked about last week, the 93 Suns-Lakers series, right? Where the Lakers went out and won 2 games in the desert and came back and collapsed. Now, if you're Minnesota, obviously Anthony Edwards doesn't feel like he's questioning himself, but what about the rest of the guys? You know, the Game 2 win was without Rudy Gobert. Do you play him less? Where do you generate offense when you don't have Edwards in? And can you crank that thing back up to playing with the tempo and the defensive pressure you played with in the first 2 games? But what a crazy turn of events over the weekend, where if you went out of town on Friday, you're like, you know what, I'm going to shut my phone off. I got Mother's Day. I'm not even going to look at it. And you came back and now it's 2-2. I would say you'd be a bit surprised.